Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. So we are going to create one more interesting video today, and that will be the topic for the today's session will be multiple linear regression, right? So we have already covered what is regression, what is linear regression, what is simple linear regression. Then I have covered a case study, a business problem on simple linear regression. And after that, this is our fifth episode basically on regression. And we are going to discuss what is multiple linear regression. Of course, we are going to discuss the theoretical part in this video, and followed by this video. In the next video, what we will do is we will take up a case study, a business problem, as we have taken in the case of simple linear regression, and in a similar fashion but with some new understanding of the new techniques, okay, we are going to solve that business problem in the next video. So for those who are watching this video, as usual, this is my introductory slide. Watching this video for the first time, sorry. So my name is Pranav Gandhi. I'm a trainer and consultant. My total industry experience is over 22 years. These are the various domains in which I have worked in all those 22 plus years. These are my academics and certifications, and this is all my contact details, right? So we have a Facebook page, I have a LinkedIn account, you can connect me through them as well. My email ID is mentioned, and my WhatsApp and contact number is also there, right? So if you have any feedback after watching any of my video, if you have any query, you can directly communicate with me, right? So let's begin with today's session. And as I said, we are going to discuss about what is multiple linear regression. So number one thing, when we have discussed about when we discussed about what is regression, we understood the theoretical part of regression, when it is utilized, why it is utilized, how it helps. Then we tried to understand what is linear regression. So in that particular video we have discussed about the equation of line, etc., etc. Then we tried to understand what is simple linear regression, right? So in that episode, so guys, let me close down my webcam, because the complete slide view will not be there otherwise, right? So in that particular video, in simple linear regression, what we have done is we have understood when it can be applied, right? So simple linear regression can be applied when there is one output and one single input, right? So the conditions over here, or the prerequisite over here, are in SLR, that is simple linear regression I am talking over here, and multiple linear regression. In both the cases, my y, which is my output variable, which I want to predict, right, has to be continuous. Okay, for those who are watching it for first time, don't understand continuous, discrete, all these data types, please watch earlier videos, right? We are learning in sequence. So y, that is my output variable, again here has to be continuous. Secondly, in simple linear regression, my y was that is output is always going to be 1, so it is single. Y as my output variable is single over here. My x over here as my input variable is also single, whereas here my x's, I would say x's, that is my input variables, are going to be multiple. So these are the prerequisites, right? So whenever I have one single output variable and one single input variable, I go for simple linear regression. But if I have multiple inputs given to me, and from these multiple inputs, if I want to predict my output, then I will go for multiple linear regression if my output is obviously continuous. Majority of time, most of the times, you will find such business problem in the industry, right? But then there are some conditions attached with it. Okay, so whenever we write a model, we need to check some model assumptions. Which means what and what should be there when I build up a model, and what and what should be there before I build a model, right? So before and after building the model, what are the requirements are there, okay, which are also called as line assumption. Line assumptions, right? So today we are going to discuss about these line assumptions, and one more thing we are going to discuss. If suppose, yeah, obviously y is continuous, x over here as my input variable again has to be continuous or numeric, I would say, because regression always understand numerical values. Regression, so anytime when you are building a regression model, okay, you must have in both sides, input and output, the values should be numerical. And if it is continuous, if it is discrete, then you have to convert those discrete values into dummy variables. You have to convert it into dummy variables, which is nothing but creating the binary variable, that is 0 or 1. The values will be either 0 or 1. You will convert those values into zeros and 1 always, right? In multiple linear regression also, if you have your x has to be continuous, x, your input variable has to be continuous, or it should be numerical, because we are talking about regression. Regression doesn't understand discrete values or text values, it only understands the numerical values, and that is why we have to convert these values into numerical values. So if my x's, which are my inputs, are in discrete in nature or categorical in nature, then I have to convert them into the zeros and ones, that is creating dummy variables, right? So these are what all about the requirements of multiple linear regression, and some of the requirements, and there are a lot of new techniques we are going to learn when we are going to discuss about the case study or business problem, right? So let's understand over here. In multiple linear regression, my y has to be continuous. My x can be multiple, can be continuous, or x can be multiple and can be discrete. But if my x is discrete, I am going to create the dummy variables. This is very important. Now, how to create a dummy variable? Let us understand that. For example, suppose you have this particular variable in your data, that is make of a car, and from this, like suppose there is a data set something like this. So let me write it over here. So maybe you have to predict a mileage or average of a vehicle, average of a car given to you, then there will be some columns. So there is a volume of a car. Volume means the cubic space of that particular car. Then there can be the weight of the car given to us. Then there can be speed, the top speed, okay, or the highest speed the car can have, okay, that may be given to us. Or one more variable will be something like maybe the horsepower, that is the engine capacity, is given to us. And one more variable given to us is the type of car. That is, some people may call it as make of car. Okay, so the car can be of a diesel type, a petrol type, a CNG type, a LPG type, and if there are any other battery, maybe nowadays electrical cars, right? So if you see here, volume will be in numbers, right? So maybe 20, 40, 70. So this is a cubic space, 90, something like that. Weight may be in maybe tons or kgs, kilograms, maybe 350, something like 1000, maybe 5000, 2500, something like that. You know, I'm just putting up random numbers just for understanding purpose. And speed also will be in numbers. So these are also numerical values. Horsepower is also going to be the number. These are also numerical value. And in my historical data, now what is the difference between historical data and the new data? We have already discussed in our last video, right? So historical data is nothing but the data given to us to build up the model, okay? And the new data is nothing but after building the model, whatever data we expose for prediction purpose is called as our new data, correct? So average of car is also in a historical data given to us, maybe 27, 37, 47, 57, something like that. So what happened over here is, all these are my continuous values, all these are my continuous values, continuous values, continuous values, continuous values. So my Y, my output variable, is continuous. Number one condition is achieved. Now there are multiple variables, input variables. Total 5 variables are there, out of which 4 are continuous variable or in numerical formats, right? Now this is the variable which is type of car, is not in continuous format or numerical format. So for this particular variable, if I want to use, and of course I have to check it whether it is going to influence, this data is going to influence on my average or not. So do you believe that a diesel car and a petrol car and a CNG car with same capacity, same weight, same top speed and same horsepower may give us different averages? Of course yes, right? And that is why these are going to be the influencing values on my average of car, which means influence means I'm talking about the correlation which we have seen in the last episode, right? Small r value, the correlation value, right? The correlation coefficient, right? The scatter plot. So if there is going to be a slope between the relationship of average of car and type of car, then definitely I'm going to use this variable, okay? So in my EDA I will decide whether to take this variable or not. If it is influencing, I'm definitely going to take it, right? So if I want to take this variable in solving the problem, then I have to convert these values into dummies, into dummy variable. Now the meaning of this dummy variable creation is, how many categories are there? 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So I am going to add 5 columns over here in this particular data set. Okay, so something like this, right? So here the electric is not there, so there are 4 columns. Okay, so dummy variable petrol, dummy variable diesel, dummy variable CNG, and dummy variable LPG. So these 4 columns I have created. Wherever in the data set, for example, for first observation, it belongs to diesel, right? So for this particular first observation, I am going to put 1 for diesel and zeros for all other variables. Similarly, I will check in my original data set, historical data, what the second observation belongs to for this particular column. Petrol, value is petrol. So for petrol, for second observation, okay, let's say it is petrol over here in the historical data. So I'm going to convert these values something like this. So petrol will be given 1, diesel is 0, CNG is 0, LPG is 0. Now the third observation. Third observation belongs to CNG, right? So if it belongs to CNG, then I'm going to put 0 for petrol, 0 for diesel, 1 for CNG, and 0 for LPG. And this is the way I will create 4 new columns, and I will discard this original column after creation of these columns. So now my new data will look like something in this way. So there will be average of car is my output variable Y, then volume is given to me, then weight is given to me, then speed is given to me, then HP is given to me, and then instead of this type of car or make of car, I am going to add up these 4 columns. So dummy variable petrol, dummy variable diesel, dummy variable CNG, dummy variable LPG, and if I have dummy variable, suppose electric is also mentioned over here, one of the category, then I will create dummy variable electric car. So this is going to be my new data, wherein all those values till here will be as it is, right? And here it will be something like 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, then 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, then 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, and so on. Right? So now my new data set will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 columns, out of which 1 is output variable, 9 are my input variables. Now once this data set is ready, there is something called as I need to check. So obviously I am going to build a multiple linear regression. Why? Because I have converted all the values of make of car into dummy variables. All these are input variables which are in continuous or numerical format. My output is continuous over here, which means that I shall go for multiple linear regression, right? Now once this decision has been done, I am going to check for model assumptions. Okay, so some of the assumptions need to be checked before building what you can say basic model. I would say basic model or default model. After building, actually every model you can say, so I am still writing it basic or every model, whatever modeling I am going to do, for every model I am going to check all these assumptions. So to begin with, what I will do is I'm just blank. I've done my EDA. So in EDA process, what I have seen is that there is some sort of relationship. So obviously I have to check. So in simple linear regression, what we have checked, or in linear regression, what we check, the output has to have a correlation with input, right? There has to be some relationship with output and input. So what are the different types of relations we can get? We can get a positive strong relationship, we can get a positive negative strong relationship, we can get a positive moderate relationship, we can get a negative moderate relationship, we can get a positive poor relationship, we can get a negative poor relationship, we can get a curvilinear relationship, or there cannot be any relationship. So these are various different type of correlations we can found when we compare the input and output variable. Now in simple linear regression case, because there was one output and one input, we check the relationship between those two variables. Now here in this case, what is going to happen is we have to check the relationship of this output variable with every single input variable. Now while checking that, I'm going to plot this scatter plot with each single variable, or there are some different functions, advanced functions available, wherein we can get it all at one go. But then the ultimate goal is to check the relationship of my output variable with every single input variable, right? So these many scatter plots probably I may have to plot. So when I plot them in my basic EDA thing, if I found something like this, definitely I'm not going to take this variable. So this is my input variable and this is my output variable. If I'm getting this relationship, which is no relation, I'm definitely not going to take this input variable. But if there is any sort of any of this plot is coming as a scatter plot, I may consider all of them, right? And there are some different type of relationship you may get, something like this also you will get. So there is very less slope available, right? Which means the relationship is, yes, positive relation is there, okay, maybe you will get something strong correlation also, but then the slope is very less. So if you find out the correlation, I mean the strong means I am talking about the scatter, but if the slope is so low, or if there is almost no slope, then I may not probably take this variable, because it is not that much influencing my output variable, this input, right? So it depends what type of plot I am getting, what is the correlation value, correlation coefficient I am getting, okay? It depends on that. I will decide whether to take those variables or not, okay? So like this I have explained you because we have already understood what is scatter plot, how to do it and all, right? So similar type of assumptions are here, okay? So number one assumption is we need to check the linearity, which means my model has to be linear in parameters, right? Our model has to be linear in parameters. The meaning of this is, many people misunderstood this. Parameters are, we have already seen, parameters are nothing but my beta naught, beta 1, beta 2, etc. These are my parameters. And x1, x2, x3, these are my variables. So these are my input variables. So what we are talking about is, my model has to be linear in parameters. So whatever coefficients I am going to get, they should have a linear relationship with my y. Secondly, Assumptions about the errors. So after building, so this is again after building the model, because beta naught and beta 1 values I will get after building the model. This is also after building the model, right? So because errors we are going to get after building the model, right? So my errors, whatever my model errors are there, or whatever errors I am getting from my model, okay, those errors should be IID normal, means they should be independently and identically distributed. They should be independently and identically distributed. I will explain this. Okay. Errors should have zero mean, which we have checked in our simple linear regression. The average of errors should be 0, because you will get errors on both sides of the line, right? So they have to nullify each other, because we are talking about the best fit line. So the line should be in such a way that errors on both sides should be almost equal. Constant variance, errors should have constant variance, which is also called as homoscedasticity. Okay, I will show you how it look like. What is the difference between homoscedasticity and heteroscedasticity, right? So my errors, after building the model, I need to plot the errors. There are some functions available. After plotting the errors, okay, the plot should be something like homoscedasticity. That is, it should have the constant variance. If there is no constant variance in the plot, then we call it as there is a heteroscedasticity problem, and this is a problem. So what are the solutions? We will discuss eventually. And errors should be independent of each other, which means, like we have seen the example of adipose tissue and waist circumference. In that we had 109 observations. So error number 1, error number 2, I will get error number 3, error number 4, and similarly I will get up to error number 109. So I am going to get 109 errors because there are 109 observations in the model. So some of the errors may be 0 or close to 0. Some of the errors may have negative values or plus values, right? When we are talking about independent of each other, means there should not be any relationship between any of the error with any of the error. There should not be any pattern, basically. Okay, that is what the meaning of this independent of each other. If they are not independent, then it is called as autocorrelation problem, which means there is a autocorrelation. So the one term we have learned, that is called correlation. And when we are talking about autocorrelation, means relation with myself, because error is going to be my variable. If suppose I consider this as a variable, okay, then I am not checking the relationship of this variable with another variable. I am checking the relationship of the variable values within itself, and that is why it is called as autocorrelation. So if there is autocorrelation problem, then we have to solve that problem as well. The third line assumptions is about predictors. What are predictors? So there are some terminologies. Okay, I'm going to show you one slide on this. I have some different names for output and input variables. So predictors are nothing but my input variables. My input variables. Because they contribute in the prediction, that is why they are called as predictors. So the assumptions about my input variables are, they should be non-random, meaning if I have been given one output variable and input 1, 2, 3, 4, or some data given to me which is having total 150 variables, and the problem given to me is that I want to predict something with remaining 149 variables. So which of the variables I should consider in writing my model? I cannot take any of the variable, right, randomly, which even don't have any correlation with the output variable, or even though, as we have learned in the scatter plot, even though there is a relationship between one of the variable, okay, let us call it as input variable 29 in this data, and there is an output variable, and the relationship is something like this. But now this input variable is talking about maybe rainfall. Okay, and this output variable over here is I want to predict age of a person. So do you believe that whatever rainfall is falling in that particular region have any correlation with age of a person? There is no. But in the data which I have received, one of the column was mentioning about rainfall happening in that region. So it is up to me, and there is where the domain comes into the picture. Now this is a common sense, I have taken this example. But a lot of times you are working in different industries. So now if you are from a mechanical background and working on a finance project, so if your domain is not very good, you may find one of the variable in the data given to you for this finance project may showing a very good correlationship with output variable, but actually it is insignificant. Actually there is no cause and effect relationship. So cause and effect relationship also has to be there, and this we can get only from the domain knowledge. So when we are working on any projects or any assignments, what happens? Let's say a project period given to us. So let me clear this. So maybe the project period is given to me is 2 months. Now what happens over here is I am supposed to spend at least 60 to 80% of time. So 2 months means it is, we are talking about 60 days are given to me. Okay, so at least 36 days to 48 days I will be only doing EDA. I will be only collecting domain. This is what is expected out of you. Because unless it is not with you, and unless you spend a lot of time on this, it's very difficult to what you can say, complete your project in a good manner. Okay, so whenever a lot of us working on so actually we are sharpening our skills when we are working on assignments or small projects given to us by universities, colleges, institutes where we are working, where we are learning, right? But when you go actually into the real world, okay, the projects will be very different, the data will be of huge size, and therein you have to spend a lot of time doing all this, right? So while working on your assignments as well, or whatever small projects you are doing, maybe on Kaggle platform, maybe on your GitHub repositories if you are doing something, okay, so that is actually called as sharpening your skills, right? So while doing this, while understanding this, of course, and vice versa, if a mechanical person is working on a finance project or finance person, the person who is very educated in finance and having very good knowledge about finance, if suppose he is working on mechanical domain, then it's going to be very difficult for him, right? Unless if you don't have or don't collect the domain knowledge, right? So let me clear this screen, guys, so that I can write more things on it. Okay, so we are discussing about predictors. So these predictors, that is, y is my input, x1, x2, x3, x4, and so on, xn. Now let us understand the assumptions. First thing we have understood, they should be non-random. Okay, so there has to be some common sense, logic, domain, and there has to be correlation, or even if the correlation is there, we need to check whether the cause and effect relationship is there or not. After checking all that, okay, you have shortlisted your input variable. That shortlisting is also called as feature selection. So you have finally done your feature selection, or finally selected your features. Okay, now these observations, whatever values are there for x1, x2, x3, x4, xn, okay, they should be measured without an error. They should be measured without an error. Now a lot of times what happens, a person doing all this measurement sort of job, that is data collection and all, those people are, many times we have seen it, you know, they make typo errors if they are writing it by hand, or if they are collecting some information by doing surveys, they tend to do mistakes. There are people who are into data entry, they are subject to, you know, exposed to doing mistakes and all, etc., etc. So there is a possibility that some of your data may be carrying or not measured without error, or measured with error, we can say. Okay, so you may find it by through outliers, if there are some non-logical values over there. But if suppose the values are in range but there are errors, then it is very difficult, because your model finally ultimately going to fail, right, if the data is with error. So data should be measured without error. And now the third one is the most important, will be the predictors should be linearly independent of each other. Okay, which means this x1, x2, x3, x4, x5, xn, these are all x's are our input variables, this is our output variable. We are talking about predictors, which means we are talking about all x's, right? So they should be linearly independent of each other, which means that there has to be a linear relationship between x1 and y, between y and x2, between y and x3. They should be linear. Okay, but there should not be linear relationship between x1 and x2, x1 and x3, x2 and x3, x1 and x4, which means any input variable with any input variable. They should not be linear with each other. They should not be linear with each other, right? So this we can do while doing our EDA, which means before building the model. We can check this, whether all my input variables are having any relationship with each other or not, right? And if there is a linear relationship between any input variables with any other input variable, then it is called as that there is a collinearity problem. That there is a collinearity problem, right? So all these problems which we have discussed, there are some solutions, right? So we are going to see those solutions as well, right? Now the fourth assumption. The fourth assumption is they are talking about the observations. Observations are nothing but my rows or my information, or we can say our data. Okay, all those values within those columns of input and output variables, those values are nothing but my observations, right? The horizontal rows are called as observations. So all those observations which are recorded should be equally reliable. Obviously, if the data is not reliable, then how can you build a model, right? So these are some of the assumptions which we need to keep in our mind before writing a model. And these observations are these assumptions are also called as line assumptions. Okay, because the model has to be linear in parameters, errors has to be independent and normally distributed, and they should have the equal variance, right? So that is why they have given the name, or some of the people, they call it as line assumptions as well, right? Now let us understand a couple of things, because these two terminologies are difficult to understand: homoscedasticity and heteroscedasticity. So let me show you that one first. So this is a diagram of homoscedasticity. So if I have the errors after building the model, when I get the errors and when I plot them, okay, so when I plot them, if the plot is looking like this, which is they are carrying the constant variance over here, right? So this is going to be the average, and the variance is constant on both the sides, and that is why we call that these errors are having homoscedasticity within them. But if suppose they are making a shape like this, or making a shape like this, which means nothing but creating a funnel, something like this, you know, or here also you can see this is one funnel and this is another funnel. In short, there is no constant variance. So when it is like this, then we call it as there is heteroscedasticity problem, right? So how to fix, we will see how to fix them in a case study, right? All right, so these are all about our model assumptions. Now once this is done, let us understand how does our model will look like. So basically, when we write a simple linear regression, we were discussing about the equation of line. So it was y equal to mx plus c, where c was our y-intercept, m was slope, and x is our input variable, y is our output variable. So this will give me the fitted value. Basically, actually you have to add over here the error, the epsilon. Okay, so this is going to be my error, because if suppose I want to predict the age, and the age given to me in the column is 50 years of old. After writing the model, which obviously I am going to use the linear equation, so I am talking about y equal to c plus mx, which is same like this, which is nothing but I am talking about beta naught plus beta 1 x. This is I am discussing about simple linear regression. So what happened over here, 50 is my age, so I am going to predict some value. Okay, now 50 in my historical data is my y, which is this, but there is going to, my model suppose I have predicted 52. Okay, so which means that I am talking about, actually it is called, the terminology is y hat, and difference between this y hat and this y, which is 50, is going to be my epsilon, that is my error. So if I adjust my error with my y hat value, then I will get y. So simply we are talking about y equal to y hat plus epsilon. So what is y hat? Y hat is equal to beta naught plus beta 1 x. This is my model, right? This is going to be my model. Now this is about simple linear regression, SLR. So what happens when we are discussing about multiple linear regression? So because there are multiple input variables, we are trying to check the linear relationship with each and every input variable with y. So the equation becomes, the same equation becomes over here, y hat is equal to beta naught plus beta 1 x1 plus beta 2 x2 plus beta 3 x3 plus beta n xn plus epsilon, which is going to give me the, sorry, not epsilon, this is going to be my model. If I want to have y, then I will add epsilon in front of it. Now here we have to understand that this is going to be my y-intercept, which is constant, right? And these are all, if we are talking about equation of line, then these are all nothing but m1, m2, m3, m4, right? So when I plot these 5 things, so I will get slopes like this, something like this. Okay, these values will be given to me by the model. So when I write a model, something like, similarly we have written the simple linear regression lm y tilde x. Okay, so here the equation becomes lm y tilde x1 plus x2 plus x3 plus xn and so on, xn, and then give the data, and that's it. So once you build a model, you will get all these beta naught, beta 1, beta 2 values, beta 3, beta n, etc., which are nothing but the slope for each and every input relationship between input variable and output variable, which is going to be used in this equation, which is going to, after calculation, give me the y hat values. And the difference between these two values is going to be my error of the model. This is how we build or do the modeling, right? So I think, guys, this is going to be enough for today's session, because what we have discussed over here is, we have discussed the theoretical concept behind multiple linear regression, in which we have understood that my output has to be a continuous, input can be continuous or discrete. If they are discrete, then we have to convert them into the numerical values, which is nothing but creating the dummy variables in the form of zeros and ones. Okay, then my x's will be, obviously multiple x's will be there. The example we have seen. Okay, how to create dummy variables also we have seen. Okay, so if the make of car is given and 4 different categories are there, then we can create 4 different columns and add them into the original data set and discard the original column of make of car. And once that is done, then we will start checking about our model assumptions, right? So in model assumptions, we have seen there are 4 different types of model assumptions. One is talking about linearity, model has to be linear in parameters. One is talking about errors, so my errors should be carrying or having 0 average. They should be IID normal, means independently and identically distributed. There should be constant variance, which is called as homoscedasticity, and if there is no constant variance, it is called as heteroscedasticity. And errors has to be independent of each other. If they are not, then it is called as autocorrelation problem. Then we have seen the assumptions about predictors, wherein we have understood that the predictors has to be non-random. They should be measured without error, and they should be linearly independent of each other. If they are not linearly independent of each other, then there is a collinearity problem. And obviously observations, each and every observation has to be equally reliable. These model assumptions are also called as line assumptions, right? So we have seen how the equation look like for multiple linear regression. Okay, so the equation of line has been expanded, and we have created the multiple linear regression model over here, and then I have shown you the diagrams for homoscedasticity and heteroscedasticity as well. Okay, how to fix and all, we will see it when we take up the case study in our next class. If you have liked the session, please do hit the like button and let me know your feedback, suggestions if any, right? If you have not subscribed the channel yet, then please do subscribe it so that you will not miss any of these learning videos which I will be posting from time to time. As I said in the beginning, that you can connect me through LinkedIn, Facebook page, right? You can communicate with me through any of these mediums, and I thank you very much and wish you all the best. Bye bye, see you, take care.